where did it all start from? Why did I suggest this session? Well, it all comes back to my current PhD, informing our heritage futures, preserving our digital pasts. It's a collaborative doctoral partnership, so as well as studying at the University of York, I work for Historic England and work alongside the ADS. And in this project, it's all about heritage data management in the High Street Heritage Action Zones, the challenges, opportunities, and future strategies we can start to implement to try and make archives better for all. But for me, it all started with Dave's Cookie. When I was young, I would walk down the high street and there would be a wonderful baker producing the most delicious cookie in the world. And from this, it made me really want to know more about the local high street and the local stories which are often not represented. Particularly given the context where many shops are closing, such as Woolworths, a fair while ago now, Debenhams, but many others, leading to an idea of the dying high street. And from this, Historic England said the high streets are the heart of our communities, and we need to do more to try and revitalise them and bring people back. So what were the key aims of the high street has? Well, there was 95 million from the government, which was match funded by local authorities and public sectors. So there's a huge amount of money going towards trying to revitalise these places. And these could be done through community with their heritage through events, tours and educational programs, to bring people back in to actually talk about and engage with the local high street. It's also about showcasing the local historic character, so showing what is unique about these places, and being able to promote more pride and well-being in the communities. It's also about upgrading street frontages and signages and streets in the public realm to not only make it a place that people want to be, but make it really, really nice, and through this they're using the NPPF. And they're also repurposing buildings and underutilized spaces, so being able to actually make places be used and make most of the heritage assets. But for me, heritage data is all of this, and all of this brings back to the idea of what we can do better in our archives. So to be able to explore this, I've got 4 main case studies. I've got Historic England's own work, who oversaw the extensive programme, but there was also quite a few issues of decentralisation, how you can manage localised projects within a large-scale initiative. I've also got Northallerton, who had very strong archiving practices for oral histories and community projects, getting people in to share their archives. We've then got Kirkham, which emphasises well-being, being able to engage people and bring more of a community cohesion together. But because they wanted more tangible, actually touching the archival records, there was less of an emphasis on digital archiving. And lastly, we've got Chester, which emphasised the built environment and the data stored within the planning portal. Here they did lots and lots of work on the built environment, and most of it went to their local planning portal. So in terms of Historic England's own work, part of this was updating the National Heritage List for England. They did a lot of work. They did 27 new listings, 718 amendments, and reassessed the at-risk conservation areas. So really getting back to grips with the local heritage assets. But they also took part in a Photographing the High Streets project, where lots of people were getting together and photographing the high street, working with local communities. But from this, they were also engaging people through social media. And many people uploaded their own photographs capturing the intangible heritage of the high street. And I'm really, really impressed that Historic England decided to archive 200 photographs from this project. We're moving into the more specifics, looking at the built heritage side of this. You've got interesting reuse of data sets, where you can see there, they've got a photograph of an existing application document within a new application, being able to reuse datasets to advocate their case. They're also producing very interesting new datasets, such as the 3D model in Kirkham, which has been then uploaded as a PDF into the planning portal. You've also got very interesting discrepancies between the below ground and above ground. So you've got the below ground going into the ADS, which is really amazing. But the above ground is all going to local councils' planning portals. And 100% of all of these documents were a PDF within Northallerton's planning portal, which really limits the amount that you can reuse it. Within the Cultural Consortium, it really emphasised bringing the community together so people could bring in their own archives. Things like ephemera. Here they've got local receipts of a particular pub on the high street, they were able to bring it in and talk more about their heritage, and something that is normally excluded from archives. They also produced another 3D model as part of an augmented reality tour to bring in and engage with a whole diversity of people. Within Kirkham, they wanted to do more personal research, so people would do researching elements that really interested them to improve their well-being. And as a result, they created a paper map pinning up different areas of sites that they found very interesting. And overall, there are also individual projects such as Browns of Chester, where they wanted to capture the oral histories and the photographs and the physical artifacts, but also the other material to talk about one particular high street shop, Browns of Chester. And if anyone knows who was involved in that project, please do let me know, because I really want to emphasize how great it was. But from all of this, it was really clear to me that there are three elements showing the value of heritage data. In terms of the economic, it's really clear that it can bring people back to the high street to start spending more money. It can also spark more investment, get people to spend a bit more to revitalize the historic character. There's also creative industries such as the augmented reality trail in Northallerton, engaging different people. There are cultural benefits too, such as preserving narratives through oral history, and social cohesion, particularly in Kirkham with the community research map. It was really clear that people were actually engaging and working together to talk about it more. And lastly, you've also got planning benefits, working with the NPPF. So you've got development and conservation balance, so condition surveys, and working with the NPPF guidance. But it's really, really clear that there are five main challenges facing the area. You've got variability in governance and ownership. You've got decentralized versus national approaches, fragmentation of data sets across different projects, planned versus unplanned data management, and also the difference between above and below ground archaeology. And I'm really excited that Keith will be talking about how we can start making better use of below ground archaeology, but above ground archaeology needs a lot of work too. So in terms of issue one, the variability in data governance, it was really clear to me through that each different council ran their own project and had different approaches. So in Northallerton, through Virginia Arrowsmith, did incredible research and did very detailed metadata. So as a result, it's going to be really accessible in the future. Whilst Kirkham, because of the emphasis on tangible and well-being, they'd had less of a professional archive. The impact of this is that there's inconsistencies. So there are 67 high streets, there are going to be 67 different archiving approaches. And it leads to inconsistencies in long-term accessibility and reusability. You cannot see the entirety of it. There's also decentralized versus data management, national data management. So you've got local councils storing their data within local planning portals, and you've got project archives storing their own individual projects. But at the same time, we've got really big national standardization efforts such as HIAS. I'm really excited to hear Marion's talk later about it all. But the impact of this is that data is being fragmented, and it reduces the interoperability. You can't reuse all of the entirety of the data set. And it means that there's less discoverability for the public, who I argue this work was for. Issue 3, you've got fragmentation and siloing of datasets. So we've got the planning documents in the planning portals, in often the format of PDF. We've got all histories going into local archives, which is really good because local people can access it. And you've got surveys from the individual projects, which is going into project archives. So as a result, there's no unified repository. There's no overview of the entirety of the data set. The impact of this is that there's redundancy in data collection. People are producing and reproducing data sets because they don't know where to find them. You've also got lack of efficiency, where you've got people storing the same data set multiple times because they cannot find it, and they don't know that another repository has this data set. And also difficulties in retrieving relevant records, so you cannot really do high and big initiatives to actually reuse the entirety of the data set. In terms of issue 4, you've got planned versus unplanned data sets. So within the planned, you've got structured data sets such as the National Heritage List for England updates. Now, whilst this project was really, really good at generating new data sets, because of the standardized approach, it meant that it had to be approved by DCMS. So all of the new listing data sets weren't actually accessible throughout the high street has. They're only starting to be available now. So as a result, although it's really good research, it isn't being used by the people who benefit from it most. There's also spontaneously generated content, such as the Picturing High Streets submissions, where the community was sending in their own photographs. How do you embed this into the bigger plans to document and archive datasets. So there's a lack of predefined workflows for spontaneous data, creates challenges in archiving and reusing unexpected contributions. How do you balance both the planned and unplanned datasets? In issue 5, you've got disparity between above and below ground datasets, with the evidence of archaeological data being put into local HCRs, into the ADS, and also being recorded in OASIS, which is really good. Although there is more work that needs to be done to make sure it is a lot more standardized, it's a lot better than the above ground archaeology. And therefore, the built heritage data often remains within the planning documents and really limits the accessibility and reusability. So above ground data lacks long-term preservation strategies and digital accessibility. You cannot reuse these datasets very easily. And it means that it's a lot harder to integrate with other heritage records. So you cannot use the intangible or the oral histories alongside the planning records, which I really think is a missed opportunity. But how do I believe that we can go about this to make it better? Well, we can talk about data governance and standardization. There's also ownership and copyright and digital innovation. Within the governance and data standardization, there's a really big role for HIAS in streamlining heritage data to make sure that projects are encouraging data to become more open as much as possible. There's also hybrid governance models balancing local autonomy with national oversight, so being able to encourage local projects to run their own initiatives, but at the same time be able to bring it into the wider project as a whole. There's also ownership and copyright issues, where you've got balances between commercial, community-intended datasets. I'm really excited that Lorna will be talking about how you can include community datasets within the world of archives. But each of these different people and stakeholders manage the datasets in different ways. There's also intellectual property concerns limiting data reuse. I've had it confirmed to me that architects don't want to share datasets necessarily because they can measure the same building twice, and therefore can get paid again. This is surely a thing that we don't want to do with government money. We also need to encourage open access for publicly funded datasets as much as possible. I really strongly believe in making data open, and I really think that many of you guys here agree with that too. How can we make that happen? And also the need to make raw data deposition alongside PDF reports. I've been speaking to Tim Evans a fair bit too much, so I'm really against PDFs. But if we can start sharing the raw data sets as well, we can actually make reusable and better futures. There's also digital innovation in future directions. You've got AR and you've got 3D digital trends and you've got AI-driven metadata extraction. And whilst I've developed many of these things myself, I'm really excited that Jack could be talking about the AI within this world too. And there's linked open data frameworks which can link data sets together. You should start bringing towards national collection and make these things continue to develop. You can actually link data sets a lot better, like the museum data service. It's really nice what you can do by linking data sets together, and it means you don't waste resources by storing data sets twice. There's also aligning planning policies with modern digital standards. The planning policies are quite outdated, so we need to make sure that in the future things become better, not for below, but also above ground too. So how do we actually address these gaps? Well, if we link national and decentralized data sets together, we can start to actually create a better infrastructure and research framework to reuse the entirety of data sets, whether community, tendered, or national data sets. We also need to engage with data archivers and HCRs early in projects. Within the High Street HAS, they didn't really engage with the HCRs. Really impressive and great resource for local projects. It's a shame that they weren't engaged a little bit more. We also need to work collaboratively with local communities. Local communities is what the High Street HAS for. How can we engage them a little bit more to actually talk about the data, make sure that has a legacy too? We need to bridge the gap between below and above ground data sets, so make sure that above ground is encouraged to use OASIS. And I know that projects have been trying to make this happen, but it's still not happening yet. So how can we make it a bit more happening in the future? Also, standardizing data management plans across all heritage projects. I'm sure many of you have created a data management plan before, and they can be a pain, but they really are helpful to make you think about your data sets. And I know that HIAS is starting to do that for Historic England projects. How can we make sure that happens in the High Street HAS as well? We also need to incentivize best practices in data archiving. Make sure that the communities are aware that what they're doing is good, and how they can try and make it better in the future. We also need to start evaluating it and create better metrics to see how communities are doing and how we can actually encourage people to do better data management. But also there's a really big call for using AI ethically. AI is a great tool. It's got many different things that it can do, but also there's a big concern about how you make it ethical. So overall, the High Street has provided valuable insights into heritage data challenges. And a structured approach to data governance can really enhance accessibility and long-term value. We can start to make data sets a lot more accessible for all. Future heritage initiatives need to balance the innovation of AI and augmented reality, but also with preservation, to mean that the projects aren't just there for the life cycle of the project. We can actually start to have a little bit more of the legacy of the data sets too. And there's also a really need to make a call for collaboration between local authorities, heritage bodies such as Historic England, and communities. The more that we work together, the better the world of data can be. And that is my call of action for you guys. How can you make the world of data better for you? So thank you very much. And if you want to get in contact, please use the one with the trowel. If you want to join my newsletter on how to use AI better, that's on the right-hand side. Otherwise, thank you very much. And I'm excited to hear the next few talks.